Hello, and you're very welcome to the Town End podcast. It's season 2, episode 6. Well, it's stalemate at the showgrounds. Yes, a soggy pitch, I suppose, kind of snuffed out any sort of skill on the night. A real hard slog. And to talk through it tonight, we have Steph, Gally.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in our guest pretty soon on this. We'll actually bring in Donal right now. Donal, how are you?
Hi, lads. Thanks for having me on.
Lads, not much in opportunities tonight. Steph, I'll come to you first. Was it a draw, the fair result?
Yeah, I think it was. I thought you lined up for a really tough slog get, but you missed the boat on that one.
I went soggy pitch. I couldn't go soggy and slog it. I thought I'm going to trip over that one.
Yeah, no, look, the pitch looked bad, and then I think Alan Keane mentioned that it was even worse than it looked, and you could sense from the players coming to the end that they were sort of exhausted, and it didn't suit the more skillful players on the pitch. Even the bobbles going across, just a simple pass across the back was bobbling and causing havoc. So I think it was a tough place to go, and in them conditions, I think a draw is a fair result.
Gally, look, we keep our unbeaten run going, and it's another clean sheet. I suppose that's the positive you'll take from it, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to be saying this for the next couple of weeks. It's early doors. I mean, when you compare it to last year, you know, it's a great start. I mean, I think we're joint second. We're 6 points. You know, yeah, we've 2 clean sheets as well. I think we're unbeaten. I mean, everything bar the match. You know, it's kind of like the pitch is bad for both teams, but I had the game on. I won't lie, I didn't have the comms on, so I don't know what the commentary was saying on the pitch or the weather. But going by Twitter, it was absolutely Baltic. Yeah. But the pitch looked like it's like something you put cattle on. You know, I mean, Sligo, they don't have a great pitch anyway. I mean, you know, whatever the way it is over there with their setup, but it's bad for both teams. And like Steph was saying, you know, as much as you want to see Keith Ward on the field, it doesn't suit a player like Keith Ward. Something like, you know, to come on and try and run a game like that. It kind of bobbled around. Even simple things like even a simple pass on the ground, you could see the ball bobbling from the stream. It was just, you know. Yeah. But look, you have to adapt to it. You know, not every pitch is as slick as it used to be. And you know, the weather over there has been over the last couple of weeks. But look, like I say, it's been bad for both teams. I think, you know, it was a tough game. You know, I see people putting, you know, it's a boring game. It's not that it's a boring game. It's just one of those nights that it's early doors in the season. It's a tough slog. Some of the tackles were like, I thought Robbie Renson's leg was broken in that tackle.
It really went through.
Jeez, my heart stopped. Like a player like him, but yeah, look, it's just one of them games. You'll take it. I mean, a little draw, you'll take it against Sligo, considering what the season we had last year and the season Sligo had last year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, look, I think it's all around a fair result. I don't think we might have had the better of it slightly, but I mean, it was one of them nights. If they had played it for another hour, neither team would have probably scored. It was just one of those games.
Yeah. Donal, was this game, I suppose, maybe a little predictive when it comes to early season games, especially when you've just gone Friday, Monday, back on again, where I know we're not a Friday, it's a Saturday this time. It's a lot of games all in a row and probably struggling to rotate players around and bring them in, and you probably don't want to show your hand too early in the season either.
Yeah, it's a lot of games coming out of pre-season in a short space of time, especially then after a couple of tough games, going onto that pitch and being expected to run for 90 minutes. I think a draw was a fair result. I think the lads summed it up well. Going into it, you'd probably have been happy with a point coming back. Some positives in the performance. Obviously, a lot of sloppy play on the deck because, as the lad said, you just couldn't pass the ball 6 yards. It was just bobbling all over the place. I thought Pat Hoban came back in and gave us a nice focal point in attack. We held the ball up well when it went to him. So all in all, yeah, poor spectacle. The pitch was very sandy, soggy, as the commentator said. I thought the ref even was very kind of blowing up everything and not in the game run. A couple of dangerous tackles as well. But all in all, I think a point is, you know, we'll be happy enough coming back to Dundalk and we go again next week.
Yeah, Steph, in the first half, there was very little entertainment, I suppose, at all. Maybe with Bradley's chance probably being the only one where he was coming through on target, but to get in a half time on that and try to reassess it, you know, you could see start a second half, he brings Wardy on. You know, do you think was he trying to just get a little bit more control in the game, or? what was his thinking behind it?
Yeah, I think I think he waited till about the 77th minute when Ward came in. But look, I think he was just hoping that maybe he'd be able to produce a bit of magic. Like Gally's his biggest fan there, Wardy. But even when he's saying, look, it's tough for him out there on the pitch like that. But yeah, look, I think he was happy enough to be solid, and then hope we get another chance like we did. Just looking back on, I think it was a chance in the second half. Maybe it was Sloggett at the back post, and he looked to be caught late. And I don't understand why. Like, if that's anywhere else on the pitch, somebody gets caught late, it's a free kick. But because he had the shot and it went over, it's not a penalty. Like sometimes and I think even Sloggett went up at the end of the match and was like showing the referee his leg, and I think Dave McKay was there and he seemed a bit irate about something. So look, I'm sure they probably thought it was a penalty as well. The ball by Oban to put Bradley through in that first half was excellent. Like he split the centre half and the left full, and we were just unlucky. Just if it had been a more like, that's probably where you want the Daniel Kelly who's a bit of pace on his right foot, where you're going straight at goal. He sort of had to cut back in on his left, but look, he made the keeper made a save, and look, the ball's bobbling as well. So
yeah,
it's a difficult one. If he's in, he can hit it first time, great, but he sort of had to take it with him as well. So it's a tough chance. But like, there wasn't much in the game. There was tackles and there was a few chances here and there. But look, if we've come away with it with a point, and it moves us up to joint second, like, and we would have bit your hand off at the start of the league if someone said to you, you'd be sitting in this position. And the positives with 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games.
Yeah,
I know we wrote our luck a little bit, but even Shepherd coming out, bit of indecision, and Connolly didn't know he was coming. There was nearly a mix-up there, but they got it clear. But all that's going to come with playing with each other more consistently and getting to know each other's games. I thought a lot of the time, like, we were still trying to work at what we were going to do with the ball, or what he's going to do with the ball if the right full has it. Still trying to figure each other out. It's early doors, and all the signs are positive from my point of view anyway.
Yeah, Donal, just on that point with Shepherd tonight, look, it hasn't been easy for him as well coming in, because he's on a back line which nearly every game has changed on him as well. So probably, maybe Andy Boyle in front of him has probably been one of the few consistencies in that, where we had Sam Bone being a centre, then move out to the right. We've, had Lewis McCarry obviously halfway through the game on Monday night, came off. So it hasn't been easy for him, but 2 clean sheets, I'm sure that's something for him to gain some confidence from.
Yeah, I think Shepherd's done okay. Like, people have to realise that he's coming out of under-23 team. He's not really played senior football. You factor in the crowds, the pressure atmosphere and stuff like that. It's all new to him. And you watch the body language of Boyle in particular. He's not very patient with the goalkeepers. Even last year with a BB, which was a different story altogether. He gets in their case very quickly, and for a young keeper, that can really get at you. I thought he was very good in the Finn Harps game. Looked a lot more confident. And one thing which I think he's excellent, his distribution is brilliant. He's got a great kick. He can pick lads out. He can do it short, do it long. So I think give him time. You can see, like, he's a well-coached, technically good goalkeeper. He's just a little bit hesitant, a little bit nervous in certain areas. And he's small as well, not just small in height, but also in physicality, which will, count against him in the League of Ireland. But I think with, 15, 20 games, we'll start to see the keeper he can be.
In the first half, we did see that opportunity where he came out and he punched through a player, took the knock, and Connolly went straight over to him to pick him up off, and just said, "Fair play to you." You came, you fisted the ball, you took the player, then you hit the ground after, and let the referee know, "Hey, I'm taking a hit there," and he got the free kick out for it. So you can see that's parts of the game. It's probably coming work. Being with these guys in training more often, and starting to get the learnings. Senior football, what it's all about. Yeah, you're going to take a knock, but you got to play what's happening first and then look for it after from the referee. Don't go, moaning at the start looking for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a sign that he's kind of maturing a little bit already. Like, the fact that he's going for a ball, whether he punches or tries to catch it, the fact that he makes the decision to go, sticks with it and commits to it and gets contact on the ball and is willing to take a hit. It shows that he's thinking right, his decision making is right. So no, I'm not worried about the goalkeeping situation. I think Peter's obviously very good as a backup, and maybe he'll challenge him at some point in the season. It's not the same case as last year when you had a BB, and you could see from the early games the guy wasn't a goalkeeper. He just wasn't at the standard required. This guy, you can see he's well coached, looks decent. So I think he could be a good signing for us this year, and time will tell.
Yeah, I think Gally, even when you're seeing the likes of McGinley, struggling with kicks tonight on that surface, I think that probably said a lot about it. Are we surprised that probably the chances that fell in somewhat of both teams were quite scrappy at times? I'm thinking from the Benson corner there in the second half, there was a real scramble in the box. I'm not too sure who actually had the shot in that. There was Conley was in there, Hooban was in there, Wardy was in there. McGinty got some sort of a hand to it, but it's those sort of scrappy moments, wasn't it, that the game could have landed on fairly handy.
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head. Like, scrappy it's probably the only way to describe it. I mean, like, Donal and Steph would know better. Like, on a pitch like that, it must be an absolute nightmare. And it's, as the game goes on, your legs must be, I can only, like, I apply it to cross-country running. Like, your legs must be just absolutely drained. And if a chance comes begging in the last couple of minutes, you're just flinging limbs at it. And hopefully it makes contact, But yeah, scrappy is probably the best way to describe it. Like, chances like that, if they come in Oriel, you probably finish it. Or even United Park, like you were at United Park, Heading the Game Park, sorry, Steph. You were there last week. That pitch looked unbelievable.
It was.
Considering what the facilities they have, but on a pitch like that, it's scrappy for everybody. The ball's bobbing for Donal, like the goalkeeper, fullbacks. It must be a nightmare for fullbacks. You're running into the corner, and what we noticed tonight as well was Macari and Bone had switched. So I don't know if that was for Macari's benefit, but they seem to handle it well. But even running down the ball, you can't even judge the pace of it sometimes because it's bobbling and you're almost going past it.
Yeah.
But yes. If you're putting a name on this podcast tonight, it's scrappy. That's probably the best way to put it. Like, it's the pitch was it's the poorest I've seen it for a long time. And like I think somebody just said, I didn't realize it was their first home game. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a shocking way to have a pitch for the first home game of the season. Now look, I'm not a groundsman. I don't know what it takes to run it up to standard, but that's pretty poor.
Obviously, the snow and bad weather.
Of course.
Storms now as So, Steph, just when Gally was talking about the pitch there, you could physically see it even on Bradley at the end. Someone who we've waxed lyrical over the past few games of, who has been known for his energetic runs and pace and everything else. But that pitch even seemed to be wearing him down in the last closing minutes of the match. Like,
yeah, look, I think he ran out of steam and he got replaced just before the end. But you could, like, I thought he put in tremendous work, like even defensively, like he was making tackles at the end and blocks and nicking balls away from people, and it was like that's sort of even puts him on a higher standard than just looking at him as a winger and his attacking prowess. Like his work rate alone has really, really impressed me, and I think he's been a super addition. Like, I know we keep talking about him, but I thought he was brilliant, but like his wee small legs just couldn't carry him at the end. So it's a tough, like, playing on them sort of pitches. It's a tough slog, and you just have to just keep moving. And hopefully the boys, look, they're all really good pros, so they'll all recover well, and we go back at it next Friday.
Yeah. Donal, you touched on Ibebi last year. When we compare and contrast, I suppose, last year's team and this year, you can really see the spine of the team this year, which is the thing we really lacked, has a lot of League of Ireland experience from front to back. And then he's peppered it round with a couple of these loan signings. And as you know, in the League of Ireland, loan signings can, if they get the league, great. We've seen that with impacts even last year. O'Donnell seemed to attract the right type of player with the right mentality. Is that what you really need from these players?
Yeah, I think Stevie's obviously trying to make the most of the budget he has, and bringing in lads on loan allows him to get more bodies in, probably at a lower cost. It is a bit of a lottery with loan players. Like, lads can be very good in academies and under 23s in England, and they just don't get the League of Ireland. They might be very good technically, but the League of Ireland's a very kind of specific league. There's a lot of physicality in it and stuff like that. I think the boys he's brought in, like Bradley's hit the ground running. He's been probably the best player in the league this month. He's nominated for Player of the Month.
Jack probably will get it though, won't he?
Of course he will. Yeah, Dublin media. Don't tell Jerry Malone about that. McCarry probably needs another half dozen games till we see what he's about. He looks, a little bit naive in certain situations. But as you saw at Pats last year, I think Stephen has the eye for the lads who can come in. And as you touched on it, the mentality is most important, as Stephen Kenny had in his dressing room, no big time Charlies. It's lads coming in ready to work. Some of them, playing at the League of Ireland because that's their level. Others coming in because they want to use it as a platform to go to a different level. And I think the dressing room, you can tell probably by the fact that we haven't played particularly great in any of the games so far. Probably we did quite well in Derry. Finn Harps, we won 3-0, but probably was unfair on Harps, that result. And tonight, but not playing well, getting results while you're still a team that's gelling, it's probably a good sign for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And Gally, on that, probably at the start, when we look back at those first two fixtures, we were thinking, was there a naivety that we were everything on the front foot, and yet we were conceding at the back, and we were thinking to ourselves, do we have to score X amount of goals just to get through this because there's a chance we're going to concede at the back. Now we've seen two games where we shut up shop at the back, but this game probably a lot less creativity, and the pitch probably had a lot to do with that. But do you think is this Stevie probably just trying to work out different ways to play? Obviously circumstances might change like it did with the pitch tonight, but we've seen a different way tonight, different style of play possibly that we've seen in the previous games.
Yeah, like tonight's probably one of it's a result that's been grinded out, whereas it wouldn't have been a free-flowing game the last couple of weeks. And we said it here at the starting, Steph might have said it at the first podcast. He probably doesn't know who his best 11 is. He's been a bit, we seem to be unlucky. Lee seems to be unlucky with a couple of injuries. We've got Garth missing at the start of the season. He's out tonight with illness. Now whether or not Garth comes in and starts at centre half is different, but it's just that, like, the lads have only been together. I mean, even when you take the Conley signing, he's only come in a couple of weeks before pre-season. He's one of the later signings, and he's gone straight in at centre half. It's not like where last year we had 47,000 players at the club. We don't have that this year. Stephen's gone out and got, like we said here last week, he's gotten players that can almost play two roles, and he has them. He's got them really kind of on an equal footing right across the field. But when you get injuries like Leahy, things like that, you're relying on the likes of what Donal was saying, McCarry that come in young, hasn't played at, kind of a more physical level than the youths, even in front of a crowd. But like games like tonight are needed, I think. It brings them back down there saying, right, we can grind out these results. And Sligo are a good side. I mean, yes, they've lost a couple of players over the season, but like who hasn't? But games like that over there, I mean, if the game's at Oriel Park, it's probably a bit more free-flowing. Like we said at the start, it's made for something like Keith Ward to come in, because I think on a proper pitch on a good night, that Sligo defence probably don't deal with Keith Ward too well. But yeah, look, I mean, it's going to take a couple of weeks. You're probably talking half a dozen, 7-8 games maybe before we really see it come together. I'd say even fitness is an issue for some of them as well. But it's a positive start. We can't ask for much more. Like without going back, if you take this time last year, I mean, like it's chalk and cheese. We're sitting here. We've no right to be giving out about anything. Like the pitch is fine, But yeah, I think it's going to take a couple of weeks. Yeah, I think that back four is probably, with the exception of maybe Leahy, that's probably what we're going to be looking at most of the season. Like, I mean, I know Mountney's got to come back. McCarry plays it right back tonight. The pitch, again, we're talking about the pitch. Pitch doesn't suit him. I'd like to see him at right back at Oriel. But, I think as long as, like, I think tonight, someone that might have went under the radar. Now, again, I wasn't listening to the commentary. Greg Sloggett had a fantastic game tonight. And someone like that in midfield, that's what you need. I know Chris Shields, when he leaves, that anchor, we needed that fill badly. Doyle's another player that can do that, but to me, Greg Sloggett was excellent tonight. And I think that adds a lot to a game like that where it's scrappy and you need people to come in, just control the game, pick a ball out, pass the ball, calm everything down. And, that benefits centre-halves who are maybe sluggish over a field like that over 90 minutes. But I think after a couple of weeks, I mean, they probably won't play on a worse pitch all season than that. So, things can only get better as far as the surface goes. But
we still have to go to half.
You still do that. Well, yeah, that's true. A bit of luck up there. But yeah, look, you just got to grind in and get these games. And like there's 2 teams playing on it. So, you know, Sligo Rovers wouldn't have liked it either, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't be. I'd be confident enough that team will gel together even better as the season goes on.
Yeah, Steph, like if you're Dan Williams coming into that team and you get told you're playing in between Robbie Benson and Greg Sloggett, you must think this is going to be an easy way for me to acclimatise to this league because I got 2 Rolls Royce players either side of me here, haven't I?
Yeah, like look, Benson is one of the best footballing brains in the league. Like I know we keep saying it over and over again, but he does, like his football IQ is right up there. Like and then you've Sloggett, who is a bit more athletic and he gets around the park and he gets his tackles and his passes off. And I think Sloggett is one of them for me where he either seems to play really well or he's really poor. He sort of hasn't got the consistency yet, but we sort of seen that with Shields when he first came into the side, he was sort of inconsistent, and the more he played and the more he learned of Stephen Kenny and the boys around him, he just went from strength to strength. And I sort of see similarities. Like, look, he mightn't reach the level that Shields got to, but I can sort of see similarities of how they've started. So it'll be all about how he progresses. But he looks to really like Sloggett in there. So, you know, if that gives him the confidence to really push on, then it'll be great for Sloggett himself and the whole team. But I thought Donal made a great point that like Stevie's maximised the squad in fact that like he and Gally mentioned it as well, that you have players that can play in a good couple of different positions. So with bringing in the loan signings, Donal mentioned that, you know, if they can just pick up from what the boys are trying to drive on, like surely they want to be involved in a side that's winning, and then obviously if they're going back to their own clubs as well, they want to create a good impression while they're with us. So it's again getting in the right characters, and from the offset, it just seems like they have gotten that. I don't think Stevie knows what a strongest team is yet as well, and it's just about picking up a good amount of points to sort of set us up for a position to challenge for Europe, or you just never know what. Like I don't think there's any Rovers haven't started really well. Derry have been picking up points but haven't been that impressive performance wise. So look, I think you know, we keep just taking away the points off, looking after our home form, and then see where it takes us.
Yeah. Donal, just on Stephen O'Donnell, he's had it tough, I suppose, with injuries coming in and long-term injuries coming back as well. I'm thinking the likes of Garth, probably great that he got 90 minutes out of him on Monday night, but now he's unfortunately out with illness today. Davy Mack has taken off a half-time, illness again now tonight. Injury to Leahy, we always knew left back could be something that's a bit dodgy. We hope nothing would happen to him. Lo and behold, that happens. So he's found it hard to find a settled side. But like Gally just mentioned, the signings he's seen to do, it's a lot of not a specific role for players that allows them in multiple positions. You think, was that a smart move from him?
Yeah, I think it was. You know, we won't have European football this year, so that's less load on the players. It seems that the injuries have come at the early part of the season, unfortunately. So he's really been forced to test his squad at this stage in the season, which might be a good thing in the long run. You know, guys get in a little bit earlier than they might have done and get a few games under their belt. We still have Mount need to come back. A few boys are missing tonight. So yeah, I think if you look at the lads he's brought in, Macari's played left back, right back. Bone can play pretty much anywhere across the back line, even in the number 6 if we need him to play there. The 2 wingers are interchangeable. So no, I think that's the way to build a squad when you're on a relatively modest budget compared to last year. Use loan signings, bring in guys who can play in multiple positions, and that's what you have your squad for. And we also have a few boys in the youth team or lads who have been on the bench in recent weeks, like Hanratty and Mayo and those lads. Mm-hmm. They can come in and get a chance to get 4 or 5 games under the belt in the first half of the season and go on to become, you know, real squad members and contribute to the season. in the second half. So no, I think in terms of what he's done, if you look at what we had last year from a budget point of view and what we got with that compared to what he's got with the budget he's on, obviously we don't know the figures, but it's obviously nothing like what we had last year. Then he spent very well, got in the right lads, and as Steph said, they seem like a good group of characters as well as football players.
Yeah, of course, I forgot to mention at the start of the show, we do have our man of the match competition, so please do get your nominations in. There's a few on the Twitter I see already there as well, so please continue to put them in now. Gally, just on Donal's point there, we saw Mayowa back on the bench tonight. We had Hanratty. We actually thought he was going to come in for a moment.
Every week we're waiting for that to come off.
Yeah. And then still Ryan O'Kane and that, you know, if you're playing under a coach like Stevie, who we've seen at Pats gave you a chance, you're really hoping that, you know, he'll unlock opportunity for you for a lot more opportunities this year than we've seen definitely last season. Yeah,
and I think it's something that's coming into the league. Like, you know, Clancy would have been the same, and you know, these younger coaches are willing to give. It's not that they weren't getting a chance. They probably weren't getting enough a chance in the right matches.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, you know, with the not famous, but, you know, with O'Kane coming on last year against Rovers, probably, and we, you know, when the game was said and done, it wasn't the game for him, and it kind of never got going for him after that. But I do think he'll take his time with them. I'd like to see a bit more of Mayo in. I think he's, like, of what I saw from last season, I think he's excellent. Now, I'm not saying he's better than what's available, but I'd like to see him come on. Maybe tonight's not the night for it, but there's definitely a good kind of, what's the word, a pod of young players there that are definitely capable. I mean, if you consider Hanratty at left back, you know, Bones probably going to keep him out of there, but, you know, as cover for Leahy, you know, in lesser games, without being disrespectful to anybody, the likes of a Finn Harps match, I thought he would have got a game at that one. You know, he's probably going to have to settle for maybe a couple of cup games to get 90 minutes. I don't know, but, you know, I think there's, I like, you know, there was text, I seen Twitter tonight and people tweeting and that saying the squad's a bit light. It's light on big names, but it's not light on talent. I mean, you know, O'Donnell waxed lyrical about Hanratty, and, you know, he signed him on a long-term contract for a reason, you know. So, you know, I think if that's our worst case scenario, I think we're doing fine. I mean, like, you know, I think the blood of the young fellas coming through there, you know, for years we've had nobody really. I mean, like, you know, if we talked about it last year, if you go through the youth system, like the last, you know, I said before, the last players to really come in and make an impact were Tiernan. You know, Tiernan, Mark Griffin. You know, like, you know, that's a decade ago nearly. And that, you know, I know we've had O'Connors come in and probably got, you know, Kieran in particular probably played really well and just, you know, it just didn't work out for under Kenny or whatever. But, you know, these players will get their crack. I do think they will get the crack. And the way it's going with injuries, unfortunately, I think this season could be very telling for them and get a couple of games in. But I mean, I think, like we were saying, like, you know, the loan signings have been excellent. Steph and Donal said it as well. That really complements the squad. But I would have no fear of some of these lads playing. I just think that the game hasn't called for them yet. You know, I kind of probably went off on one. I don't know what I was drinking last year, but I fully expected Ryan O'Kane to really kick on last year. And it just, Steph's best mate, Vinny, just didn't fancy him, you know, and I don't know what, you know, I thought he was excellent. Like in pre-season, he was on fire. So it goes to show what I know, but I'd like to see, in particular, I'd like to see Mayo get on more. I do think there's an absolute fantastic footballer in there, and I'd like to see him play more. But again, look, it's look like it's going to be injuries, or maybe a CDM role comes up. But I would have no fear of these lads playing. I really wouldn't. I think Stephen O'Donnell knows what he's doing when it comes to the young fellas, and it's not like he signed 40 of them. He's handpicked 2 or 3 of them to play and be on the bench each week. And it's only a matter of time before one of them gets a run at it.
Yeah. Steph, I'll come to you on this, and then Donal, I want to come to you after on it. This week we've heard from Mark Scanlon and everything, and they're talking about how we changed the philosophy of football in this country, where we start thinking of a pyramid for players and for teams, where we have a proper academy structure. And so we're on the cusp of 1 or 2, possibly 3 players from an academy. Is it important that they start to break through so younger players who are further down in the academy can then see that there is a proper route to first team football within the League of Ireland, and in particular at Dundalk?
Yeah, look, I think the pathway has to be there. When me and Donal was coming through, there was like an under 18s, an under 21s, and then if you're in around the 21 starting, you were called into the first team squad nearly to start training and then hope to make some squads. And once that pathway is there, I think it can benefit people. I know I don't want to go back on 2 weeks ago where I was talking about some of the older lads coming in and playing the 21s games to give everyone more experience and bring players on quicker. But it's up to the young players coming through as well. Like Stephen O'Donnell's not just going to put a few of these players in so it'll entice like the younger lads to go. They should want to be. I want to be the first player to get onto Stephen O'Donnell's team from the youth system, and they should have their own sort of drive within themselves. But look, it's great that it's there, and we've been crying out for, like, yourself when you're up in Oriel and you see a local there. It's like the best. Like everyone gets behind them and really wants to cheer them on. Like, sure, anytime Tiernan scored, he was jumping into the shed, and the badge was nearly worn off. He was kissing the crest that much, but it was great. Like everyone was really behind the team, and just being a local involved in that environment was unbelievable. Like if you went to another club elsewhere, like I did, and you're playing, like, you just don't get the same feeling or the same buzz about it as playing for your hometown club. So look, hopefully the fact that Brexit's come in and players can't go to the UK, if we can set up academies here where they can really progress, really learn a trade and a football education, the pathway is there to play in Europe. Like we've seen visits to the Emirates. Like, do you know what I mean? If you went to England lower leagues, you don't even have a chance to do that. Never mind anything else. So look, I think if we can do it right, set up from the bottom, similar to what Gali said about the female system. If you can set up from the bottom and just grow from there, step by step, I think it'd be amazing to see 4 or 5 locals. Like if you had back in the day, you had Flano coming through. I know he's sort of converted from his Drogheda side, but we consider him a local anyway. Like the likes of John White. John White was managing our under 18 team with Tommy Conley. Like, Jesus, I don't think we knew how lucky we had it when the boys are there. Like, and John had been there and done it. Tommy Conley speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of that there, and if you can get local quality local coaches in as well, the environment to be so much better.
Donal, just from your own point of view, do you think there's a real sliding doors moment about to happen in the league here, that if we grasp this opportunity that Brexit has kind of thrust upon us, and that we can hold on to these guys, that maybe, like, is there a potential to have a proper football industry if the structures are there and it's run correctly, do you think?
Well, there's always been the potential to have a proper football industry in Ireland. Like, Ireland's a football country. It's not a big country, but it's the most popular sport and it's played very widely. It's just that it's never happened, and it's never happened because of poor administration for decades, basically. There are good coaches in the country. There are good clubs in the country. We have that sort of bonus now of Brexit, that players can't go away at the age they went at. So they're almost forced to stay here unless things like France or Spain open up as academy markets for them. And I think if you look at it on paper, you'd think Dundalk is better structured now than it was when me and Steph were there, because we came in, the standard pathway was you come in at 16, maybe 17 even, and that's your first time getting the level of coaching you were getting. Whereas now they're coming in at 14 or 15. They've got a couple of years, they've got a pathway. I think the missing thing really is whether it's a reserve or under 21 league, because it's a very big step from 19s to first team. And I think it's what the Paul McShane thing they're doing with United, that's a really good model to follow, I think, to get experienced players playing in the under 23s. If you could have, I don't know, 2 or 3 overage players But to have an under 23 or under 21 or A League as it was for a couple of years, about 10 years ago, because it's a big ask of a lad who's 19 years of age going into a first team dressing room, adapting and doing well. But at the same time, the structures have to get better. Definitely, the coaching has to be better. But there comes a point. You mentioned Ryan O'Kane and lads like that. I thought Ryan, I agree with you, Gally, did very well. He looked electric last season. And then Vinny came in and just didn't fancy him for whatever reason. There comes a point where these lads have done enough in the academies and you just have to throw them in and they'll sink or swim, you know?
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you'll never find out. And I think the boys like Hanratty and others this season, it's make or break really, because they need to have a couple of games, whether it's cup games or off the bench in the league, to see if they're cut out for the level of League of Ireland. And you know, you can't be hanging around as a youth team player for 2 or 3 years in the first team squad, but not coming in and playing.
Yeah.
I think just before you move on from that, and this is where I think Stevie O'Donnell might be the best man for the job, because I think Dundalk played Bowes in the pre-season friendly and Mayowa played centre-half, and I think it might have been 4-0 at half-time, and I think he might have been poor in the game and he got taken out at half-time, but he sort of, you know, instead of just putting him back in and denting his confidence even more, he's just kept him around. And you know, even getting on the bench tonight, it'll be a little step for him to go, do you know what, I'm in the squad tonight. I know it was due to Garland being sick or whatever, but it just takes an injury for someone to get a chance like that. And again, like he played midfield last year, and everyone has told me he's a centre half, and there's 2 positions he can play, so that's an advantage for him. Hanratty, you know, left back, he's played wing back, and he's a winger. Ryan O'Kane can probably play anywhere across the top 3. So look, to have things going for them. We've seen Ryan O'Kane in the Bohemians pre-season friendly last season. Stream was excellent on it, made him stand out even more. But I thought he was like, he was up against Andy Lyons, who was it was the Irish under 21 right back at time, and he was not megging him at the halfway line. And look, we might have got a bit carried away by how good he might be.
I did anyway.
Yeah. Look, Gally had a sneaky bet on him to win Ballon d'Or in the next 10 years. But look, you don't just do that in a game against someone that good, and like just as a fluke. Like there is football in him. So look, I think he's at the best place possible under Stevie O'Donnell, and hopefully he can bring it out, and all goes with all the lads, all the young lads.
Gally, like we've seen it in enough underage Irish setups now that predominantly they're home-based players a lot of the time in the younger setup. So we like the opportunity is building and building and building. This might take an extra level though of funding or something just to really galvanize this together, because you know, Donal, like I remember I read it before, you were over in Reading for a trial before, like I'm sure the setup phenomenal, was it?
I didn't catch you there. Sorry. Just say that again. Sorry.
I think it was yourself and T went over before, was it?
Me and Tiernan went to Stockport when Jim Gannon left Dundalk and went there. But coincidentally, I went to Reading the same year in the summer, and I was actually with Richie Towell and Andy Boyle on the same trial. And we played a few games together and got to know the lads there. But yeah, that was 2006. Went over there, yeah.
Well, like the academy structures in the UK back then were probably miles better than where we are right now for that.
Oh yeah, there's no question. Like the boys are joining academies at 8 years of age over there, and they're getting good coaching at that age, and the facilities, you know, even Reading, it was in the Premiership that year, but it was a very modest, you know, club. The infrastructure was probably what a League One club is now, but they have a big training complex. They've got a gym, they've got a canteen, everything laid out for the players, and the players are coming into that environment at a young age. You just can't compare to what we have here, unfortunately. Now, I heard Mark Scanlon on the podcast, and I think, you know, he spoke very well. He's clearly got a plan for what he wants to do. It's just whether he gets the scope to execute it. You know, he's working for the FAI. As he said in the podcast, he's starting off 60 million in debt, right? They're 60 million behind because of mismanagement over the last 10 years. And at the end of the day, it comes down to money. So the FAI don't have any money. they can assist clubs in going for government grants and that sort of thing. But clubs as well have to, put in a way to monetize better, to raise more money, whether it's about, fees from players joining the academy at a certain age or whatever it is. But they have to become in some way self-sustainable. So they're not relying on the FEI, because that's never going to happen. But maybe working with the local TDs to get, there was a lot of grants gone out this year, tapping into that to actually put the infrastructure in place. We can't just sit back and say, the FEI need to change, because that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. The clubs need to take responsibility and, go for it themselves.
Yeah. And Gally, that's going to take some sort of investment, though, isn't it? And a will behind local TDs, like Donal said, or higher up in government, wherever, to really want to invest in it, because they're probably looking at it going, this model's been working fine for years in Irish football, where young lads have been going, surely that can continue. They need to be kind of educated probably in this.
Yeah, it's look, and like Donal was saying, the coaches in the country have been there. Like, players are there, coaches are there. They just don't have, like, if you take, like, not to try and compare it, but if you take even just facilities at local level, like Castletown Bells, for instance, and I'll have to just mention them because that's who I'm involved with. We have toilets.
Every time you mention the Bells.
We have a luxury of vandal-proof toilets. There's not many clubs that have toilets, like simple toilets. And even something like that, they were $2,500 to put in. We put that in ourselves, where we're not even playing at the pitch yet and the toilets are in. But even something as simple as that, it's the basic stuff. Like, there wouldn't be a GEA pitch in the country with a toilet in it. Very, very few, because they're structured. They have the backing of the big wigs, and the money goes back in. And like Donal was saying, Mark Scanlon starting at 60 million in debt. It's an uphill battle for years before you even break even on it. Like, if they ever do. Like, I know the European Championships that are coming down the road by the sounds of it, but that whether that can break it even or not. But what you were saying about the Irish setup, the home based, Stephen Kenny had a lot to do with that. Now, I know before that there has been teams and local teams, but Stephen Kenny seems to have this real emphasis of why bring them in, why fly them in when we have the players here. Like, the amount of players that are going through League of Ireland clubs into the setup, and some fantastic coaches. Like, I know Dean Howersmith, Tom Mohan, all these coaches that are involved at youth level, and Paul Assam and all them top class coaches, and all they're seeing these players firsthand, because the League of Ireland is getting lower, so the average age is dropping. So you're getting to see these players a lot earlier than you would have when Steph and Donal played and stuff like that. And that's what it's all. I think that's where it's going to come from at the end of the day. There's no need to go. Like, I know Brexit's come in. It's lucky for us to, for League of Ireland fans. But there's now no need to go. And people have been saying that for years before Brexit. Like, if you look at players like, even going back to Kevin Doyle, Shane Long, I mean, these were all lads were early 20s when they went over, really. There was no real, even if you look at Paul McGrath, like, we'll go back to 80s here. He was early 20s when he made it over in England. So, you don't need to make the jump as early. And the level in the League of Ireland has gone up, or has been going up for years. And you've got a much better chance of, like Steph was saying, you've got a much better chance of playing European football if you play here. Like, if you jump ship to the Championship, you have to win an FA Cup. If you don't get promoted into the Premier League, to play at that level, to get yourself noticed. But the money's always been there. But it's just not the money. Sorry, the coaches have been there, but it's getting that infrastructure right. And Donal says fees for academy players. So, like, depending on what facilities you have, fees can be expensive. But that's why they have these facilities. That's why they're able to put on these coaches and get them on their courses, things like that. And it all feeds back into the clubs. And down the road, you'd like to think we'd be on that par, because again, I'm comparing GEA is it's a different level when it comes to even just basic facilities. I keep going on about toilets. It's so simple. The amount of toilets that are missing from local soccer clubs is frightening. Some of the best clubs in town in Louth don't have toilets. Like, it's crazy, really. Yeah. But that's the FEI, and you get your grants. We mentioned grants. Castle and Bell's got their grants. Plenty of clubs got grants this year, so hopefully it's put all to good use. And it can only benefit down the line, girls and boys soccer. And we've seen in Oriel this year, they've kicked on now with their under 50 or under 17s National League and their under 16s, and it all trickles down and benefits everybody going forward.
Yeah. And Steph, just a final point on this. I mean, for years we've seen the best talent in Oriel Park being pulled away, and we received nothing for it, nothing for Jamie, nothing for Darrell, Richie. We all these players have all moved on, and we've received probably nothing for these players. So that has to change as well, won't it? And then we can start feeding into an industry in the country.
Yeah, like it was sort of a catch-22 where like players were sort of going, if I sign this long-term contract and there's a chance of me going to England, maybe someone won't come in and pay money for me. But like it's gone on that there's been that many successful players coming from the League of Ireland that, look, I think Andy Burton mentioned it already. Like it's sort of a hidden gem that like you look at Seamus Coleman. Like what sort of market value would he have had if he had moved from Everton? Like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like there was talk of him going to Arsenal for big money at the time, and I think, what did he sign for? Like it was less than 50 grand, was it?
I think it was 35 or 38 or something, I think.
Like, do you know what I mean? And the career he's gone on to have, and it's just been incredible. But taking him, and then I thought even when Keith Fahey, I know he was over in the UK or whatever when he was younger and sort of done a bit of an apprenticeship, but he came back and then he established himself in the league as one of the best players, and then he went over to Birmingham and he scored in Wembley and stuff like that. And I thought, maybe players will look and go, if I can build my career in the League of Ireland and then I can go over to England or whatever like that, and look, maybe the younger players don't have a chance now to go to the UK, so they might just sit in and just hopefully it just progresses the league. Having more quality young players will always be a good thing. And then, like you said, Chris, if the clubs can tie them down to longer contracts, so look, it's a bit of stability for them if they're staying around, or if not, then the clubs that have brought them through their academies will benefit from the money, and hopefully they'll reinvest it then.
Yeah, exactly. I think, Donal, I'm probably doing you an injustice. We're nearly 50 minutes on, and we haven't talked about the main reason you're here. I think we all got a little bit carried away.
About to analyse that wonderful match in Sligo, no?
Yeah, how did we manage to talk about it for 50 minutes, lads?
The A team.
Yeah, exactly. Donal, I suppose the real reason you're here, things were far more important than football going on in the world. People are probably seeing your name and you pop up about a fantastic drive in Oriel Park at the moment, and a drive that you're also going to have to do yourself. Yeah. Before we get on to another topic, we might just talk about that first. Why did you want to do this raising, I suppose, for the Ukraine?
Well, it was sort of a kind of nice timing because I was planning to. I have a car here in Ireland. I had it here for the last 8 months in a lockup somewhere, and
don't disclose location.
Secret location, field in Blurgan. I've been meaning to get it home for about 6 months now, and I was saying I was planning to do it around this time of year because it suited me. And then obviously, I'm based in Slovakia. I've been out there for the last 10 years, and obviously what's happened in the last 2 weeks, everyone's in shock over it. Slovakia in particular, they've brought in 50,000 refugees from Ukraine in the last couple of days. And it's on our doorstep. Like there was rockets falling 160 kilometers from the Slovak border. So it's very real. So anyway, I knew that the people organizing the frontline response for the refugees in Slovakia really needed resources. They needed things like babies' nappies, clothes, warm clothes, medicine, blankets, food, all that kind of stuff. So I said I may as well do it now, drive the car over and fill it with stuff from Ireland, because I knew they were collecting here, the Ukrainian community. So I just put up a tweet last week, and it kind of spiraled out of control from there. I put up a tweet saying, Ukraine needs these things. I'll be driving from Ireland to Slovakia next week, and give me a shout if you have anything. Mm-hmm. So Martin Connolly obviously saw that, and he sent me a direct message saying you can use Oriel as a drop-off point. So I said, grand, yeah, dead on, Martin, thanks. If you're talking to anyone, just say, Saturday, Sunday between, let's say, 12 and 4, drop off whatever they want. And this morning I saw that Dundalk had tweeted it on their account, with 25,000 followers. So I got up to Oriel at about 12:30 today, and the car's not that big, like it's a Jeep, and the whole area under the main stand was just full of stuff. So plans started to change then. I had to get my stepbrother's van, and I brought all the stuff to my house. I was up to Oriel four times today filling up the Jeep because that's how much stuff there was. Wow. Brought it all to the house, spent the whole day putting it from the side of the house into the Jeep, what I could get. And I kind of sorted out with the stuff that was most critical, put it into the Jeep because that's going there first. And all the stuff that's left over, like this is a big transit van. It just fit in. Like the doors you have to push it closed, So I'm going with the van tomorrow to Dublin. They have a warehouse in Park West on the Naas Road where they're collecting as much stuff as they can get. And they send a truck over, I think it's once every week, to Poland, where there's been 600,000 refugees going into Poland since the beginning of the war. So the stuff that doesn't get there straight away will go in the next week or two from Dublin. And I'm driving tomorrow then on the ferry into the UK and then over to France. So I'll be arriving in Bratislava on Tuesday. Drop off a few things there, and then hopefully continue over to the border for stuff that's needed there. So it's a bit of an epic journey coming up.
Like I'm assuming by that, then you're just being completely taken aback by how, the gesture from the whole town.
It's unreal. Like Dundalk is a great town, and you see it at times like this when people need to pull together and help others. There was people coming in. I was up and down to Oriel, as I said, 4 times. People coming in non-stop with bags full of stuff. So for a small town, I think the contribution, like a full van of bags, and people. It wasn't that people were donating stuff they had. People were coming with receipts after buying stuff in Tesco. They went out of their way to actually fill bags full of stuff and bring it down to Oriel. So it's brilliant. Like the community is fantastic in the town, and it took me aback. I wasn't expecting something like that. I thought I'd be lucky to fill the Jeep, but it worked out a bit differently.
It's funny because I was watching the RTE News earlier on, and they reckon anything up to 1.3 to 1.5 million refugees will cross the borders into Poland, Slovakia, and neighboring countries this weekend. So like that's really getting scary numbers now, and I suppose. What is it? Because there's still an opportunity tomorrow for people to bring more up. Is there anything in particular that you think that is badly needed or that's been called for people to bring?
Yeah, so I think in my load there's plenty of food, and I think there is plenty of food there on the ground that they're able to get from local places. What they really need, it's women and children. Men 18 to 60 are obliged to stay. So all sorts of sanitary products for women, nappies, baby grows, baby wipes, all that kind of stuff is badly in need. So that's what I would say is a priority. A formula for babies, all that kind of stuff. Basically anything that the situation is that you've a mother and 2 kids coming with a small suitcase, so they've none of the essentials. So it's all that kind of stuff that's difficult to get.
Brilliant. And we're up. The opportunity to drop off is there again tomorrow, 12 to 4, I presume, again still?
Yeah, 12 to 4 tomorrow. So I'm going to go in the morning and drop off that first load in Dublin and come back. And if I'm sure there will be more stuff there. So I'll probably do a second run to Dublin in the van, and then I'll head off myself in the evening in the Jeep.
Yeah. Well, look, on behalf of ourselves here, and I'm sure for most people here in the town as well, it's a fantastic idea that you come up with, and it, like you say, the town loves something really good to get behind. We've seen it with the Shed lads on the lead up to Christmas. They done a food drive as well, and they were blown away by the support and that. So it's just good to see that goodwill is still continuing here, and it's just important at times like this that you really need to look after our fellow human beings. And when you think about the despair, like you say, a poor mother or young family crossing borders with nothing more than a suitcase, and someone who probably don't have anything else, it might not even have a suitcase. So I think if we could do anything to help that, and it's just great to hear the response from the town as well, because I think we are a fairly passionate town when it comes to a good charity like this. So the drive for that is essential. But Donal, it's not the only reason you're here. we originally had plans afoot long before war changed a lot of things, and one or two people might have not noticed a sponsorship change at the start of this show, and something we leaked out yesterday. So people have probably seen Dundalk Village and gone, what the heck is going on here? Have we renamed Kildare Village, or have we got a new designer outlet going on? I suppose I'll let you spill the beans, but we probably need to take a step back and figure out where do you come to in all of this? And I suppose you want to explain it all.
Yeah, so Dundalk Village is in Uganda, for anyone who doesn't know already. So basically, the background is I started a company in Uganda. I worked in Africa for the last, not living there, but with companies there for the last 7 or 8 years, and had an opportunity to open a company in Uganda about 1.5 years ago. And it started out pretty much as a business venture. So we bought 13 acres of land, and we wanted to do an agribusiness, so ginger farming. So we've planted the land, we're growing ginger, and the idea is to sell it, and standard business, right? But when I went out there the first time after we bought the land, I kind of saw the area it was in. It was very remote and very poor. People living in basic mud huts, kids malnourished, getting malaria, young people dying of preventable diseases, all that kind of stuff, like really extremely poor. So we decided really to change the focus of the company and to create a foundation. The company's called Uroda. Uroda is the Slovak word for harvest. So we created the foundation, and we bought 3 more acres around the land, and we're building some infrastructure there. So the idea is that the business side of it is focused on the farming. A lot of the revenue that we generate from that is then reinvested into the foundation. So what we've done so far, we put in the first permanent source of clean drinking water in the village. So that serves about 200 families with a permanent source of water. Before that, you had 6-year-old girls walking 5 kilometers each way to fill up at the nearest well, and it was dirty water. We put in biogas toilets, which was a really nice idea that my business partner had. So they actually struggled. So there's no running water, there's no sewage, anything like that. So they basically dig holes, and that's where they put their waste. So these biogas toilets, we put in just 2 blocks of them. Everybody uses them, and it turns human waste into gas. And on the other side of the building, we have it's like a little hob on the outside of the wall. When you turn it on, the gas comes out, you light it, and they use it for cooking.
Wow.
So it turns human waste into cooking gas. So we put that in. We did a project for malaria nets, so that the kids have malaria nets in the place that they sleep. And we also put solar panels on the tops of their huts, so they can charge their phones, because they have old Nokia phones and stuff like that. So we decided to name the village Dundalk Village. And the reason for that is, so for the water project, I did a small fundraiser on GoFundMe. And I wanted to get the people of Dundalk, and anywhere in general, but Dundalk because it's where I'm from, to get invested in the project, to understand a bit about it. And the next phase is going to be the little kids who live in our village. There's about 20 of them anyway in the local vicinity, but we'll expand in the future. We want to sponsor their school fees for a year on an annual basis, and also some basic medical stuff. Some vaccines for malaria and different things, and treatment and stuff like that. So we want to create like a twin family project, and the idea would be that families in Dundalk, Ireland, would sponsor families in Dundalk, Uganda. Fairly modest, couple of euros. The price of a pint a week probably would cover it, and basically give these kids a chance to go to school. Like I was there 3 weeks ago now. And we were driving to the farm. It's completely off-road. And we saw one of our neighbor's girls walking in her school uniform during school time. And we were like, what are you doing? You should be at school. She was like, they sent me home because my dad didn't pay. And that happens all the time. They can't afford. And it's like 100,000 Ugandan shillings is about 20 euros, right? So 20 euros for a term, for a full term. But they don't pay it. They don't have it. So we want to have this fund where we'll pay directly to the schools to ensure that the kids have the full year paid for. And then any incidentals, like if they get sick or if they get and any expenses they incur, we can have a fund that we'll provide to make sure to get looked after. So we'd like to launch it in a couple of weeks. And it's not just, send money and that's it. We'll actually do, like, you'll get letters from the kids, you'll get photographs, even video calls when I'm there. And if anyone's interested in coming to Uganda, you can actually meet the family, because it's a great trip and it's really eye-opening to go there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It really puts a poor pitch in Sligo to inflate. Donal, it's, people are probably going to be completely blown away by yourselves in particular over the past while, with these ventures and the humanitarian effort I think you're putting in different parts of the world is fantastic. I think what we all want to know is, are we going to have a small football team of everyone in Dundalk jerseys eventually down the line here?
That's actually something I'd love to do. That there's no football infrastructure there. It's way out, far away from the villages, where there's anything like football pitches. But I did have a great, picture in my mind of someday, a group of kids, boys or girls, over there playing a match, on one side wearing the Dundalk home jersey, one wearing the away jersey. So I think we can make that happen at some point, But that was the whole background of calling it Dundalk Village. I really wanted to create a connection between Dundalk here, and we've seen with the Ukraine situation how willing people are to step up and help when there are worthy causes. So to create a long-term relationship, a story between Dundalk Ireland and Dundalk Uganda. So that's the reason for sponsoring the pod this year. As well as that, I think, to keep these pods on the road, there's loads of podcasts in the League of Ireland, and they actually help to raise the profile. So to make sure you guys are able to keep it going is obviously important, but to get the profile raised of what we're doing and to get people interested was the main reason.
Yeah, look, and we'll make sure we share all the details in a post after the show, just so if anyone wants to get involved, we'll just give the proper links for that and do it. I think, lads, a football pitch down the line, all the football jerseys, someone doing a Hubinator celebration, and everybody going come on the town. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah. I think it's amazing just even listening to you there, Donal. Like having an effect on a family and their future, like their livelihood and stuff like that is amazing. Like even what you talked about, the toilets and stuff like that, and you seen Gally had a light bulb moment thinking, how can I get them down to Fatima? So you probably want a few tips off you for there. But look, we really appreciate the sponsorship, but for us to get that info out where. Look, I've never heard of it before, and I'm sure it'll open up to everyone else now. And hopefully you get the back, and then it deserves, because it's amazing and well done.
Thanks a million, Steve. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Yeah. Gally, you can top them up later on for the toilets if that's all right.
Yeah.
Professional here. So look, Donal, thanks so much for joining us here tonight. We'll let you go because you have a fair bit of driving to do tomorrow, up and down. Just a reminder to everybody, so there will be the collection tomorrow, still 12 to 4 o'clock up in Oriel Park. We might as well fill a whole container now if we're going this far, just coming from Dundalk as well. So Donal did mention some of the things that we'll be looking for. On that, we'll just put a reminder post up tomorrow. I'm sure Dundalk Football Club will probably do something similar as well. And just everybody who's already contributed to that, thank you so much. I know like I said, I have 2 bags in the back of the car which have to go up tomorrow, so there's a chance I'll probably see you up there. Donal, look, and on behalf of ourselves here on the pod, thanks so much for sponsoring us for this year too, and best luck with all the work there. And if there's anything that we can do in any way, there's always a platform here for you.
Thanks a million, lads. Really appreciate it. All the
Perfect.
best.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Good luck.
Gally, you just see him with them toilets, couldn't you?
That was fascinating. Now, obviously, nothing they'd be doing, but how people come up with these ideas? Like, what a mad, ridiculous. Like, I know it's obviously sounds simple the way he's putting it, but even for someone to come up with that, and it's so simple. Like, it's not. I don't mean it's simple, but for the area that it's in and to make that work, and that's it's incredible. You think people have thought of everything, and it's like I've seen his work. I did hear the Dundalk Village a couple of weeks ago. We had it up on Donal had it up on Twitter and that, and it's unbelievable the efforts that he goes to. His Instagram and his Twitter's, hopping off the wall with stuff. And look, it's unbelievable to be associated, for us to be like, for us idiots to be associated with something like that and get the run off. Like, it's that he even thought of us is great. And look, we'll, like you said, Chris, we'll do whatever we can to promote, every week. His logo will be on every now going forward, all posts and stuff like that. So we'll do whatever we can, and hopefully we'll be able to get that connection with families from town and football families and stuff like that. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Fair play to him.
Yeah, and Steph, just on the Ukrainian efforts as well. I mean, like I said to Donal there, we seen this at Christmas before when the Shed Lad done it. When there's a real good opportunity like this, the town really rises to the occasion, don't they? Yeah,
look, I think there's sort of a pride thing there where like we like to be the best at doing things, but everyone gets together, and if it's something that's a worthy cause, it just gives you a good feeling about being from Dundalk at times, where everyone just gets behind it. People struggling, like we know ourselves, we're ahead in the game, people reaching out to us, and the support we've received as well. Like it's amazing. The people around Dundalk, just can't speak highly enough of them at times. So yeah, it's terrible what's going on across the way. But like Donal said, he's going to be going back over there, and it's not too far from home for him. So hopefully he's a safe journey, and he gets all the supplies that's needed over to those people.
Absolutely, lads. I thought we were going to have a nice little easy night. We'll all get through. Nobody will be bringing up any wrestling quotes or anything, but lo and behold, Pingu.
Finally, the Pingu is back. I was listening in, lads, for the last 20 minutes to Donal. I missed the start of the show, and I didn't want to interrupt him. It was fascinating to hear everything that he's doing. It's just fair play to him, as you were saying there, just the goodness of people, and the goodness of Dundalk people just always seems to shine through.
Yeah, you got a match, Pingu?
Yeah.
To say I can hear something roaring in the background.
I'll coach you at a minute.
Ted Lasso.
I believe.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Sorry, I'm on a podcast. I love it, Pingu. Just look, you've probably seen the result tonight. I know you're at a match there or everything, but another clean sheet, unbeaten run. It's been a decent start to the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I got listening because I was driving to work. So I got listening to a good chunk of the match, and by listening to it, didn't seem like there was much happening. So I don't think I missed much viewing wise. But I think, look, at the start of it, when you've Derry away, you had Bows. We had the Bows game. Derry was at home, wasn't it? Sorry, you had out of your opening 4 games, you had 2 definitely tough games. So I think 6 points would have probably been a realistic target for Stephen at the start out of those 4 games, So I think to be able to have that tonight, I'm sure he's happy. I'm sure he's happy, and I think supporters are probably happy too, because with how late it was getting a squad together, I think it just everyone was just a little bit nervous, and the pre-season was up and down, But I think definitely it's a positive, the fact that we haven't lost yet. And Steph, you know from playing, and you lads know from coaching and that as well. It's not losing is a habit. People say losing's a habit, winning's a habit, but when you don't lose, when you keep staying undefeated, like that's a habit as well. So long may it continue.
He must have the coaching manual out there. He's reading off it.
I'm have to give him a speech. Well, Gally said that I was one of the most excellent coaches in Ireland, so I feel like I have to make sure that I know what I'm talking about now.
This A license has gone to your head.
Yeah, never heard the end of it.
I haven't even started it yet.
I know. Heard more about it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's something that you can sort of hold up to the players, have a bit of pride in yourself. We're unbeaten, keep that unbeaten run up, and look, the longer it goes on, the more the players will sort of cling to it and like die to not get beaten. Do you know what I mean? So it's only a positive thing.
Yeah, and I think another clean sheet for Shepherd is good as well, isn't it? That's 2 on the spin for him.
Yeah.
Conceding 4 goals in 4 games. I mean, it's a goal a game on average, but it's not a bad return, for a brand new back 4 as well.
Yeah, and different games. You know, he took a couple of physical knocks tonight, and he still got back up from it. So I think it's all good from Pingu. Just before you go there, look, we've Shells next Friday in Talca, I think, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Only Rovers at home, I think, this month. So look, another draw there. How's it set us up for that? And you know, Shells are they hot and cold at the moment, aren't they?
Offside ref.
You'd fancy your chances. I mean, against Shells, a team that's just been promoted, you're going to fancy your chances against them. But going up to Talca Park, I mean, as a Dundalk fan, you have good memories up there, don't you? You know, and I think we've had probably more better days than we have bad days there, or at least from what I know. But that's a question probably to ask Mr. Shells McKevitt there, is it?
I think so.
I think you only remember the cat and cage.
Yeah, I was 12. I had my first pint in there. That's where it all went wrong.
Yeah, look, I think we all remember Davy Crawley lifting the cup up against Bowes that day. And yeah, look, we had some good days up there, so I don't think we should have any fears going up to play against Shells. They haven't had the best of starts. The big draw the 2-0, but in heading the game park. But look, if we want to be up challenging for Europe or even more, we need to be picking up 3 points up there.
Yeah, is it, you know, do we build from these clean sheets and that's the way we're going forward, or you know, do we?
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, I mean, you hope they're not like you hope they're not overly reliant on them either. But I mean, like at the end of the day, it sounds really obvious. But if you keep a clean sheet, you're guaranteed at least a point. You know, and I know it's really obvious, but you don't want to be conceding 5 and scoring 6 either at the same time.
Yeah,
you know, but. Like Steph said, you've got to be confident up to these places. Like Talca Park's an institution in League of Ireland. It's great to have it back. It's great to be playing Premier. And I don't know what the numbers is for away fans, what numbers they allow in, but I don't see many tickets being left unused by Dundalk fans, especially with building up to the Rovers match on the Monday night as well. That'll give us, is that like 5 games in 2 weeks? Or that's mad. It's a mad amount of numbers at the start of the season. But I wouldn't be fully confident of going to win. But I think that after tonight's match on a good surface, I just think it'd be a different kind of game altogether. I think, without repeating myself, I think it could be a game for a Keith Ward again. Whether he starts a match in the league, I don't know, but it's a game that he could get at. But I'd be confident of getting a result. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So look, as I say, we finally got round around the fixtures. We can kind of see what way this table is starting to line up. So I'll bring it in, hopefully. There you go. So Derry sitting top of the table after 4 games on 8 points. Dundalk second, with level with 3 other teams. So ourselves, Shamrock Rovers and St Patrick's Athletic, all 4 games played, 6 points. Then Bowes and Sligo, point behind us. Shells, Drugs, Harps and UCD at the bottom. Then Gally, I'll just come back to you on that. Then is this probably, are we starting to see a bit of a settle on a table, should I say? We were probably thinking maybe, you know, Drugs, Harps, UCD could be there or thereabouts down the bottom. Is that what we're starting to see, do you think?
Well, I mean, if I was picking the bottom 3, they would have been. I know I said in the chat before the season started, I think Drogheda could have a mare of a season. I mean, the only thing that might keep them up is a UCD or a Finn Harps. I don't really see them pushing on from last year. I don't know. It all depends what Damien Duff takes defeats. Like, I mean, I was talking to someone this morning, and he could split the dummy of the pram very quickly. I think he has a short temper. Like, and if results start going against him, you know, he might just, you know, not that he said he'd be packing it in, but I'd say he could be a nightmare to live with for players if they don't hit the ground running. Now, look, they've had an okay start. People forget he's completely changed the squad pretty much. They've come up from the first division. I don't see it change. I know it's very early doors. We've been talking about the finishing table. But I don't see the teams changing too much from what they are at the minute. Even getting maybe half a dozen games to go, but it's still a tight match. Like, to play Shelbourne now a Damien Duff Shelbourne at Talca Park is a tough game for anybody. But the layout of the season, definitely from 7th to 10th, I don't see it changing too much throughout the whole season. I really don't, unless you could argue maybe someone might slip into it, but I don't really see it changing. I think we're too good to be down there anywhere near it. But I think Drogheda could be a really surprise. I think they could go on a bad run. I know they picked up points, but I wouldn't be a big fan. Like, the best signing they've made is Dara Doyle. That's and that's on the coaching. So look at. You don't want to be saying teams like UCD will keep them up, because UCD have a great pedigree in the league. Some of the best players in the league have come through that team. But look, I think the way it's shaping up, like Steph was saying, Talca Park next Friday, I wouldn't feel playing that particular Shelbourne team. And I think Duff, I think he could be the cause of them losing some points, because I think he's got a short fuse, and I hate being a dressman with him after a defeat.
Yeah. Steph, we were talking about this Derry City team before, and we were kind of thinking, could they mount a challenge? I mean, so far so good, sitting top of the table after 4 games.
Yeah, look, they've recruited really well. I'm sure, obviously, we know all the players they've recruited because they were ours. Michael Duffy still has to come into that team, so that's a bit of a frightening prospect as well. They just seem to be doing enough to be picking up the points at the minute. McGonagall's was obviously a serious finish against Rovers, and he looks very hot at the minute. McElhenney scoring was a bit of a heartbreaking moment. It was always going to come, but him to get the winner up in Talca Park, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think we'd be a million miles away from them either.
Mm-hmm.
I know Gally thinks they're going to win the league. You probably still think they're going to win the league, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't really have any complaints with that. But I just don't think we'd be a million miles off them, to be honest. And I know, I was saying at the start, we should be looking to finish top 3, and I've no reason to change from that. I think we'll only get stronger and better, and I think the games against the likes of Derry and Rovers is going to really separate the top 3. I don't think, in the last couple of seasons, that Rovers are just going to run away with it. I still probably think they have the strongest squad, but I think we just seen already, Towell, Buck and Gannon all on the bench the other day. He's going to have to keep all of them happy, and then you can sort of do that when you're winning, but then when the results start going against you, you'll have every player in the squad knocking on your door that's not playing, saying, "Look, we're losing, but you still haven't put me in, or you haven't started me, or you took me off." So he's gonna have to juggle all them big players and big personalities. I'm sure Richie Towell didn't come back to the league to sit in the bench. So, and
the longer they're left out, their match fitness disappears. When you try and bring them back in, they mightn't hit the ground running at all. So it's a dilemma for Rovers. I think they're very heavy on midfielders, and I think it could be a problem for them.
Yeah, look, I think they were overloaded last year, and they signed another 17 midfielders
as well. So, well, let's just as a protocol for what we think then for the Shelbourne game, Pingu. If there's no offside decisions there, can you make a call on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my same prediction for every match so far. 2-1 Dundalk.
2-1. All right.
Yeah.
Gally?
I'm going to go 1-0. 1-0 didn't come up tonight for me, so I'm going to go with the 1-0.
I hate going last on this. Steph?
I know, you always put me in third when I was right, I'll go 2-1. Nah, he said that and he's always wrong.
I had 1-0 in my head. I said, I'll get this.
I'll go 1-0 and then Gally picks it. Well, in fairness, Gally's probably way out in front in the prediction table. So far.
Close the last two.
Close, yeah.
You get a point for it if it's an actual draw and you call the draw, but you got the score wrong, no?
Well, look, if we're going to go down that road, I said we'd get a clean sheet. So
partial credit.
Okay. Well, look, I think they do have a couple of dangerous players, but if we could just build on the clean sheets we've had already, we might just get another, and I think they'll be a bit more open than Sligo were, and I know that I had a look. I had one eye on the Shells Pats match, the opening match when it was on RTE, and the pitch wasn't great.
Yeah.
I know they've had another match on it, and then the ladies played on it in the opening game today, so it looked a little bit better, and hopefully by the time Friday rolls around, it's a little bit better than tonight anyway. So, but that considering, I think I'm going to go 2-0 to Dundalk.
2-0. I'm going to copy Gally then, because that's what it looks like now, because I'm going last. No, but I think 1-0 as well. I think we can keep our clean sheets going too on it. So I think a 1-0 Hooben would be the way to finish it off and put us in a real good position, a good start to the season.
Bardaly get the second.
Okay. Look, thanks so much, I suppose, lads, for popping on. Pingu, what's the score in the match?
I'm done. I'm just watching another match now.
Oh, well, what was your score?
Very unprofessional.
I can't disclose that. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
GDPR.
It was a Dundalk of last season performance.
Yeah. It was a good run out.
Yeah.
Don't let the A-license coaches hear you say that.
We're getting better. We're getting better every week.
We go again. Well, speaking of things that go again, we will go again on Friday night, and after the Shells match, I think I'm back in Drogheda again, so you can tell me all about it. They're more than I'm bloody in Orioles.
I'll be back with new puns.
Brilliant. It's exactly what we need.
Friday, Monday, isn't it?
We had serious things to discuss tonight, Bingo. I'm glad you weren't here. I thought he was coming in with something. Lads, thanks so much for popping on tonight, for discussing the game. Thanks so much for Donal Greene for popping in and going through all his fantastic work he's doing. Don't forget, tomorrow, 12 to 4 p.m. in Oriel Park, there's still an opportunity to drop off ending for the Ukrainian drive that he is doing. Until then, who wants to end it, lads?
Go on, Steph.
Steph's up.
Just get the nappies up the Oriel tomorrow.